Hey, I'm Pete with Mosko Moto. I'm out riding right now with the Mosko team. We're on the Oregon Backcountry Discovery route. We've just finished the trip. I'm on Domingo Pass. I'm gonna be working my way back north solo. And along the way, I'm gonna make a quick video about the Backcountry Panniers. This was the original product that we created back when we first started Mosko, and it's still one of our flagship products today. The Backcountry is a super tough, waterproof, rack-mounted pannier system that's designed for long-distance travel and touring. We've been making this system for over a decade, and there are literally thousands and thousands of them being used right now all over the world on all different kinds of bikes and all different kinds of terrain. Over the 10 years we've been making it, we've collected lots of feedback from other riders. All of that input, all of that learning has been incorporated into the current version. In a lot of ways, the Backcountry Pannier is like a cross between hard luggage and soft luggage. There's a lot of rigidity built into the sidewalls of the bag, so it's not going to deform under load. Plus, it clicks on and off the bike super easy, and it's fully lockable. But then compared to a traditional soft saddlebag system, it's not going to flop around when you're riding in bumpy terrain and riding off-road. Compared to hard luggage, it's also a lot less likely to break your leg if you get in a crash. Plus, the bag itself is going to survive the crash better because there's nothing on it to dent or bend or break. The Backcountries come in three sizes, a 35 liter, a 25 liter, and then an offset kit, which includes one 25 and one 35 liter pannier. The 35 liter is going to work for most riders in most situations, and that's what I'm using on this trip. The Backcountry Panniers will fit on pretty much all the major brands of aftermarket pannier racks. They'll also fit on the BMW OEM racks that come with some of the adventure bikes. Those require a special adapter that's available on our website. Also, keep an eye out for a new mounting system we just created that clicks directly onto those racks. There's an external frame on the bag and then a corresponding wedge that mounts on your pannier rack using our custom pucks. Both the frame and the wedge are made from injection molded, glass-filled nylon, so they're incredibly durable. This system doesn't move around at all, even when you're riding in extremely rough terrain. Attaching your pannier to the bike is super simple. You just slide the frame onto the wedge and everything clicks into place. When you want to release it, you just pull the speed pin out and lift up on the bag handle. For off-road crashes, one of the key considerations was maximizing the amount of surface area contact between the bag frame, the mounting wedge, and the pannier rack behind it. When you slide that frame onto the wedge and it clicks into place, it's essentially like one continuous sheet of glass-filled nylon with a steel pannier hoop behind it. Plus, there's no metal-on-metal vibration, and there's no complicated latching mechanism that's going to get gummed up with sand and mud. The speed pin latch is incredibly simple. You can actually disassemble and repair it yourself. The Backcountry is totally waterproof, and it's not just waterproof when you first get it. It's waterproof after thousands of miles of hard riding and plenty of crashes. The way we make the waterproofing so reliable and consistent and durable is by constructing two completely separate bags. On the outside, there's this super tough sewn seam bag that's designed to take a ton of abuse. Then on the inside, there's a welded seam dry bag, and that's what actually keeps your stuff dry. On the outer bag, we've got ballistic nylon, we've got Hypalon, and there's actually 7 separate layers of material just on the front face alone. That's the part of the bag that hits the ground when you go for a slide, and it also takes the most abuse from sagebrush and branches and rocks on the side of the trail. This inner bag is where the waterproofing comes from. It's made from a TPU material with welded seam construction, so there's no stitching and no stitching holes that could potentially create leaks. The construction here is similar to what you'd see in a dry bag for kayaking or canoeing. This isn't some flimsy, tent-like waterproof material. It's a totally sturdy dry bag, even on its own. The reason we make it so tough is that it's not only the external abrasion we have to think about, it's also inside abrasion from hard things inside the bag, like a camp stove, your cooking equipment, your tools. Over thousands of miles, those things can rub against the inside of the dry bag, and they could potentially wear down the waterproof coating and maybe create a leak. You can crash on these bags again and again, ride with them for years, and never have to worry about your stuff getting wet. If you don't want to bring your dirty, muddy, wet panniers into a clean motel room or into your house or into your tent, you can pull out this inside bag and carry it in on its own. A lot of folks will use this inside bag to create 2 separate compartments in their panniers. So one for their clean, dry things inside of the dry bag, and then one for their wet and muddy things on top. The Backcountry panniers are fully lockable. For that, we make these cable locks. The cable locks loop through this aluminum bar on the top of the bag, and they not only lock the roll top closed, but they also make it impossible to lift the bag off the mounting wedge. Something we get asked a lot is whether a thief could just cut into the bags with a knife. Technically, yes, that's possible, but from a practical standpoint, it's a lot harder than you might think. Here on the front of the bag, we have a polyethylene stiffener, so you're not going to cut through that. Same thing on the back of the bag where we have the mounting frame. Then on the sidewalls, we use multiple layers of really heavy-duty materials that would take a long time to cut through. and that's especially true if you have auxiliary pockets or a brush guard mounted. Moving on to the outside of the pannier, there's a bunch of cool features to talk about here. First up is this assembly on the front. This is called the Beaver Tail. The Beaver Tail is basically an incredibly handy stash spot for anything you don't want to put inside the main body of the pannier. It's also a great spot for wet or dirty things or campsite garbage. Here on the back side of the Beaver Tail, we've got a stretchy neoprene pocket that fits our cable locks perfectly, but you can use it for other things too. Then there's molly webbing here and a tool holder up here. This is a great spot to put things you want quick access to. For example, a knife or a Leatherman, a hatchet, a saw, or a first aid kit, tow rope, zip ties, things like that. On the front, back, and bottom of the bag, you'll notice these 5 little mounting holes. Those are so you can connect either our brush guards or our auxiliary pockets. Starting with the brush guards. The brush guard is a replaceable wear part. It protects the front of the bag from unusual abrasion and abuse. This is especially important on desert double track, where you typically have to pick either one track or the other because the median is too sandy or too rocky to ride. In that situation, one of your panniers is going to be sticking off the trail, and it's going to hit every single bush and stick and rock that it encounters there. Same thing if your bike goes down for a slide. This front corner is the most exposed part of the bag, so putting a brush guard there ensures that any damage occurs to a replaceable part and not to the pannier. The auxiliary pockets consist of an outer holster and an inner dry bag. The outer holster bolts to your main pannier, and then you can run it either with or without the dry bag. This is great as a stash spot for anything you want quick access to during the day, for example, snacks or rain gear or tools. It's also a really handy spot for storing fluids, things that you don't want to potentially leak inside your dry bag. It comes with a small leash for retaining your fuel bottles, and then there's an opening here for an MSR Dromedary water storage bag. That's really handy so you have water on tap for cleaning your face mask or brushing your teeth or washing your dishes. You can rig up to 3 auxiliary pockets per pannier, one on the back, one on the front, and one on the bottom. They're good for about 2 liters of water or maybe a small to mid-sized tool roll. If you don't run brush guards or auxiliary pockets, then on the front and the back of the bag, we have molly panels. Those will fit our large or small molly storage pouches, or also any kind of aftermarket molly storage pouch that you might already own. All the straps on the backcountries have these cool little strap keepers. So once you know the length you want your straps set at, you can roll them up in a little ball, and that way you won't have a bunch of straps flapping around in the wind. The backcountry system is tried and true. It's been tested all over the world in some of the harshest environments that people ride. It's been crashed on more times than anyone could possibly count. It's as tough as we can make it, and we stand behind it with our crash replacement program and a lifetime guarantee. Okay, I'm about 90 miles from home now. I'm running out of light, so I'm gonna get back on the road. I hope this video helped you make up your mind about what panniers to get. If you have any questions that I didn't cover in this video, please send us a note. Mosko Moto at moskomoto.com will get right back to you. Thank you so much for watching.